Okay.
Excited to have Chuck Coker with us here, Dr. Chuck Coker, a psychiatrist, psychologist, man of God, and who understands all the principles of leadership, behavior, psychology, all the things that we need to know as understanding people and communicating better and being more effective. So thank you for anybody joining us on video as well. So let's give him a big round of applause.
It's good to be with you today, and one of the things that I will share with you is basically this. This is normally a 3-hour or half-day program that we're going to go through in about 45 minutes.
Okay.
And the reason is that normally I evoke interaction with the people and ask them to talk about their scores, because you're going to see a sample company that I worked with. It's an IT company, so it's got some uniqueness about it, and you'll see why some things are strong in their makeup and other things aren't. So as we get into today, and as we're coming out of or we're supposedly coming out of this virus shutdown thing, one of the things that's going to be critically important to all of us is all of these people that have been furloughed, which ones do we actually bring back? Which ones are going to make the biggest difference in the organization? Which ones are the ones that we can trust? Because 76% of the companies that we surveyed say that they have trust issues. And over 92% of the companies that are more than 10 employees have trust issues at least someplace in their organization. So what we want to try to do is identify, okay, what are some of the things that we notice about people that will tell us and help us better understand how trust works. And one of the things that I will tell you, as we read through 108 articles and worked with 8 different university doctoral students on the subject of trust, is that all 5 of the characteristics that you will see today are characteristics that Jesus displayed. And as we built this out, even though it was designed for a secular audience, everything in here is scripturally based. So let's get started, because what we want to see today is the fact that there are aspects to our personality that we can see. There are other aspects to our personality that we can literally hear when a person communicates, because only 40% of what we discern of an individual is what we see. 60% of what we discern about an individual is what we hear from them. And then we're going to look at each of the 5 constructs of trust so that we'll better understand how we can make it work within our organization. So the difference in how we approach things is that we can look at these behaviors and mindsets or priorities that people have, and it tells us why they do those things and how they can make changes. But the programs that I'm working with will help you understand what you are doing and how you are impacting people's response in that process. And we can see aspects of our personality because some people are very task-oriented. Other people are very people-oriented. And some people, introverts, think internally, and other people think out loud. And as they think out loud, you'll notice that they lean on their elbows or lean forward as they sit at a table. They lean back and relax if they're extroverted, but they're people-oriented. The introverted person is going to slouch and fidget. Watch their fingers, watch their feet, they move. And when they stop that movement, you'll notice that they're either experiencing anxiety or intimidation, or they have a point to make at that particular time. The task-oriented introvert is an introvert who's going to be very upright, very rigid. You'll see crossed arms, hands on the chin, very analytical at that point. So we assigned them names like conductor for that extroverted, task-oriented, promoter for that extrovert that's people-oriented, a supporter who is the introvert and people-oriented, or the analyst who is the introverted, task-oriented person. So I know we're going fast, but here's the good thing. I'll give you this presentation, both John and Tom have it. All you have to do is ask and we'll email you the whole presentation. Now, here's something that I want to bring about because it's important, because it goes along with what TJ was saying earlier, is the changes that have begun to occur and the way that our culture impacts us. Because you see, everything that we covered before is genetic. It just is there based on the genes that the good Lord gave us. However, He also placed us in a particular family with a certain set of parents, put us in certain schooling and educational atmospheres, and brought a circle of friends around us. And they have an impact on the way that we think and the way that we prioritize. And the first group of people that are objective are more rational. They think about personal evaluation and they communicate with very much direction. And you see, this is, shall we say, the hangover from the Greco-Roman mindsets. See, the Greeks believed that passions are connected to our body. They also believed that the virtue comes from mind over that body, and that feelings can be false. Now, what Satan has done over the millennium, he has changed it to a more modernistic point of view, where the mind reasons its will to our souls, and that we were made to fulfill our personal desires, and that feelings should direct us towards the truth. Do you see the differences? This is huge, because in today's society, only 32% of the people in our society are objective thinkers. 68% are more subjective. They're more relational, personal connection. They communicate with sensitivity. But here is where God's grace has come in, because He's helped us to moderate these things with our belief system based on the position that He has placed us, our personal responsibility, and how we communicate with conviction. You see, the objectivity says, let's be efficient and effective with our times. That's that Greco-Roman mentality from years ago. But subjectivity says, oh, let's make it pretty, do the right things, and we're more interested in what's important to you, and we're going to conform. And our beliefs, though, tell us that we have the ability to approach things in life with either a commanding or collaborative approach based on our calling, as well as a structured or more flexible way to look at things. And we're going to see those things as we move through this process. Does this make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
So help me understand again. Objectivity, you said it was 32%. Most people think, or 32% of people think that way primarily. And then subjectivity was 62%.
68%.
68%. So then
Right.
belief enters in and kind of melts it
Your
together.
beliefs actually impact how you express your objectivity or your subjectivity.
Okay.
You see, if you're commanding, then you've been called to leadership. God has placed you in a leadership perspective.
Okay.
And if you're structured or flexible, that is the belief system that God has instilled into you.
Okay.
You see, those of us that study, that focus on, shall we say, apologetics, are going to be much more structured. Those of us who are more relationally based are going to be more flexible in our belief systems.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it also kind of, when we think about, it's not good that man is alone, I'll make a helper suitable for you. And a lot of times you've got someone who's got personality like this and personality like this, and God brings them together and he pulls them more towards the center because Christ is operating in all of those areas with balance in both structure as well as relationships. And so when we allow others to help us see things, we kind of come more towards a consensus.
Absolutely, and let me give you a perfect example. I am 5th generation military, all the way back past the Civil War. When I went to high school in the morning, my clothes had better been organized based on breeches and shirts and color-coded. Underneath my bed were my shoes lined up. The bed was made, bounced a quarter off the top of it. If it wasn't like that when I got home, I was on restriction or I got whatever I needed to get. I married a lady whose family was artistes. No particular structure. When I came home, I knew that dinner was going to be on the table at 5:30 or my dad had smoke coming out of his ears, you know. I come home at 5:30 and my wife is on the floor playing with the kids. There's clothes from the front door to the back door. The supper has not been started, you know, and I'm saying, something's wrong about this picture, you know. But the point was God divinely appointed her to me to moderate and be more accepting of who we both were because of our beliefs. He called me to be the high priest of the family, but our beliefs is what has saved our marriage.
Yeah.
Without
That's a good
Jesus
point.
Christ, we would not have been married 37 years. You know?
With 9 kids.
And nine children. And so
No wonder there's clothes always from
Glenn talk about grandchildren being dispersed. South America, Phoenix, Denver, Oxford, England, and Milan, Italy. They are spread out. So anyway, so as we look at these things, each one of these things is going to have an impact on whether people trust us or not. So what we have to do is understand which aspect of trust do we struggle with. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break these constructs or these different aspects of trust down into 3 groups. First of all, trust normally is seen between 2 people, is it not? Interpersonally. In other words, interacting with 2 people allows us to build trust. But there's 2 aspects of trust that are critical, and the first one is transparency. And when we think about transparency, it's characterized by an openness and accessibility of information that comes in our business or ministry practices. So, are you a leader that communicates with clarity, or do you give direction? That needs to enlighten our followers so that they need to understand the reasons behind what we're doing. You see, in most businesses today, the reason why employees are not engaged, and in Europe, 72% are not engaged in their job. In America, 76% are not engaged in their jobs. That means that only 24% of the people in America really want to be in their job and excel at their job. That answers the question about the direction and purpose. Why do I say that? Is because unless your employees and unless the people on your ministry teams understand how their role fits into the mission, vision, and values of the organization, they will not engage. Just that simple. So people are willing to trust a leader who shares their heart and their reasoning, yes, but people over a long period of time They have to be open, candid, and free of pretense. In other words, they can't be someone that they want you to see without seeing the real you. Does this make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so transparency means that we're going to share our strategies and communicate the vision so that each person understands it in the context of what they're trying to do. We're going to share the reasons behind those decisions so that it has an impact on each person, and they begin to say, okay, I get it. I see where I fit in. We have to keep the individuals in our organization at a place to where they understand the health of the organization and how they interact with and work with the teams themselves. But most of all, we have to have the integrity to tell the truth even when it's not good news. Only then will they trust our transparency.